Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.
A lot of students look at business school education as more of a gateway to a great job, and hence sometimes they don't really pay attention in the lectures. They don't have the academic rigor once they come on campus. Their focus is actually on bagging that high paying job. Do you think, sir, that is a strategy that pays off in the long term? Do you think that how do you
The
get students
student
to
strategy you are talking about?
yeah, student strategy, because they figure that okay, short term this is what is important, that I get that coveted job on campus rather than focusing on the classroom and learning the business concepts, the fundamentals. Does that play out in the long term, and if it does not, then how do we make this shift in how they need to look at business education?
Business education is a signaling game. So, a student, by grabbing admission in a top business school, is signaling to the market that he or she is highly capable. Okay.
Right.
Because that student got admission competing against 2 lakh students of the country and secured an admission among the top 2000 students who got admission in some or the other. 2000, 3000. Okay, in today's time it is like 4000,
Seats,
4500
in the
odd seats in the top business schools if we are
Yeah.
talking about. I mean, including the second generation IMs, I will consider in the top business schools,
Okay.
even if I don't consider the
Okay.
third generation IMs.
Right.
Okay.
So you're saying ILK you will consider as the top business schools?
ILK, of course. I mean,
Right.
I will consider. I mean, even I will consider Udaipur and the very new ones. I might be a little
Not so
hesitant
much.
in
Right.
including in the top
They have
bracket.
some way to go.
But anyway, the point is that I mean, so it's a very competitive admission procedure through
Right.
which the students get admission
Right.
in these business schools. So the signaling is done there itself. Okay. So the business schools do a huge favor to the industry by selecting the students so that the industry does not require to conduct an all India test like an UPSC kind of an examination.
Right.
So they can come to the business schools and recruit. That is one thing. So yes, I mean the student strategy of getting into the business school to grab a good job, it is there, and I don't see. I mean there is anything wrong with that.
Right. Okay.
Nevertheless, if a student gets into a business school and thinks that he had done the signaling, then he or she is wrong. Because when the placement happens during the recruitment phase, I mean, the companies actually select a group on basis of their CGPA, that is on their basis of their grades, and then they do their own selection process, and then they select a few students.
Right.
So if you are not securing that particular cut of CGPA, then you are becoming ineligible to sit for certain processes, right? So that is why grades become important. And you came to the business school, you got admission, but then you got a few bad grades, and then you had to leave the business school. I mean, that happens in XLRI, that happens in many of the top schools, including the older IMs, ABC, where in the first year, I mean, some students don't meet the CGPA criteria, or they get too many F grades or something like that. As a result of that, they might be asked to repeat the year, or they might be asked to leave the school altogether. So then
Right.
again, you missed an opportunity. So studying is important from that perspective. Studying is also important in order to answer your questions during the interview. So it is not that whatever we are teaching here is just a makeover. I mean, it's that admission test. You got through it. You have signaled your efficiency, and then you will get a great job.
Right.
It doesn't work like that, because some fundamentals you will have to pick. The question is that whether how much of that we teach in the business school, how much do the students get to use it in their job?
Right.
They might not be able to use it in their job immediately. Say, for example, a student who gets into a sales profile does not necessarily be using the Porter framework or strategy models or things like game theory or various things that we have taught.
Right.
They might not be using those, but some fundamentals they have to know, because they have to understand why a particular decision is made by the company. He might not be in a position to make the strategic decisions, but he should be able to understand, he or she should be able to understand why a particular strategic decision is made by the company, what the company is trying to achieve through this particular decision. Secondly, I mean, 10 years down the line, you will be in a position where you will be making the decisions.
And that's where your
And that's
education
where
will come
your
in
education
handy.
comes. I mean, you may have to refresh, that is true. You may have to do some, I mean, because time changes, technology changes, business models changes.
Right.
So you will have to catch up. But this education, this foundation that we have given you for 2 years, that actually helps you in catching up much faster as compared to somebody who did not go through this process. Both are right. I mean, the signaling part is there. Business schools act as a signal, but that does not mean that the education that we impart is just a makeover. I mean, it
Right.
has a
has
it
its
has a
value.
long-standing effect on the student and his or her career.
Probably that's why for years to come, once you are an alumnus of a top business school, you keep reaping its benefits for many decades to
Yes,
come. It's not
yes.
just something that you enter the job market with, but that's
True. I
the
mean,
degree
alumni
you.
network is, of course, I mean, that is one very important aspect.
Right.
But I was talking more in terms of the education that we
Right.
deliver here.
Right.
I mean, the importance of that. I
Right.
mean, that is very important. I mean, you cannot ignore that.
I want to come to your lectures now a little bit. So, how do you ensure that a complex topic like game theory that requires students to, at the XLRI schedule is very rigorous. So, how do you ensure that students go deep into it, spend time on it,
Okay.
really gain something out of it rather than just it being another lecture that they are going
Of,
through?
of course, of course. Teaching is a creative art. Okay. So, if your lectures are very monotonic, then of course it is very difficult to retain student attention for long. So, in order to address that problem, what I do, I use certain tools. One is that I use a particular online platform in which I make the students play interactive games, business decision games.
Right.
Say, for example, a pricing game. I mean, such kind of things. They play the game. I did not lecture before they play the game. So they play the game. When they play the game, through the interaction between the student and the interface and another student with whom they are playing the game, the other student is a player in the game, but the students don't know exactly with who they are playing the game.
Right.
Okay. So it's like a real life scenario that I'm simulating in the classroom that captures the student's attention. That is one thing. I bring in a lot of examples in the class, and many of my examples are not just from business. Okay, because
So, for example, what kind of examples
I
would you
bring
bring in
examples from
sports?
sports. I bring
So,
examples
what
from
sports examples would you bring
sports example. I mean, football. When you are playing a game of football against another team, how you play the game depends on whether it's a league match or it's a knockout tournament match. In a league match, what is your objective? Your objective might be just to get a draw, or your objective might be to win and get 3 points.
Right.
It depends on where you are in the league,
League
table, at
table,
that point.
and
Okay.
where the league is itself,
Where
at
the
what
league,
stage the league is.
yeah, how you play the game. Whether you go more defensive, park the bus, or you go for more attacking kind of
Right.
play, depends on your situation there. I will give you more specific examples.
Yeah.
Okay. Say, for example, a penalty kick. Now, the kicker can kick the ball either to the left of the goalkeeper or to the right of the goalkeeper.
Right.
The goalkeeper can jump to his left or his right.
Right.
Okay, in game theory, we have a tool called the mix strategy. So, where we consider that there is a probability with which the goalkeeper will jump to the left and another probability with which the goalkeeper will jump to the right.
Right. Right.
How do we figure out that probability? From the history of the goalkeeper?
Correct.
And then accordingly, we try to figure out what I will do. But then again, the problem is that the
goalkeeper
goalkeeper
also
can
knows.
anticipate that I will do this, then anticipating that the goalkeeper can do what is best for him.
Right.
But then again, what the kicker can. So it goes on. So there is a tool called a mixed strategy equilibrium which can be used to solve this problem.
Right.
Similarly, I mean, I did one research work in football only, where I mean, say for example, I mean, you follow football, right?
Yes, yes.
So I'm a very passionate follower of football. So when
Right.
it comes to football, I can't stop.
Right, right.
So when
So which club are you a fan of?
I support Barcelona, but I like watching various
EPL,
clubs.
okay.
EPL also I watch.
Okay, okay.
In EPL, I used to like Arsenal at one point in time, and in EPL, I used to support Arsenal.
So after Arsene Wenger left, you gave up on Arsenal?
Not just Arsene Wenger left. I mean, it's more about the philosophy, the way you
Right.
play the game.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
so till Arsene Wenger, actually, they followed a particular philosophy. Now
Right.
Arsenal is playing differently.
Right, right.
So again, I mean, Barcelona also follows the same.
Right,
And anyway, that was a digression.
Right.
So what I was saying, that when a team is attacking from the flank, okay, now we understand that, I mean, they can either cut in or they can make a cross.
right.
And accordingly, the defense has to decide whether to go for an offside trap or to lay low. Okay.
Right.
Now again, this becomes a game that, okay, there are two options for the defense:
Defense
lay
and
low or go for an offside trap.
Right.
For the offense, the decision is either to make a cross or to cut in, playing short passes. Okay. So this can be formulated as a game, and we can find a mixed strategy equilibrium of this.
Right.
So sports is one. Then public policy, politics, war. Okay. So I mean, various day-to-day life examples, situations,
Right, right.
I bring in as examples. But then again, I mean, I also don't want my students to get lost in these examples, and I can keep the class engrossed. That is true. But at the same time, I will have to deliver and make them understand the content, because the content is technical.
Right.
Now, how do you make them understand the content? My way of doing it is through solving problems. So I give them problem sets, ask them to solve the problems and come to the class. Then we solve the problems in the class. And so through these problem solving exercises, the students learn a lot. So the technical details of the subject are delivered through these problem sets.
Thank you so much, sir, for doing this. We really appreciate this. The response we got last year on the XLRI campus to understand which are the professors who the students feel are really making an impact. You came out trumps there, and we saw that students really feel that they are learning something valuable and something that is really going to impact their careers going forward, and which is why we thought we'll have this conversation with you. Really appreciate you taking out this time and having a cup of coffee with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.